Welcome to the Pet Loss Companion. I'm Dolan-Del Vecchio. I'm here with my friend and co-author Nancy Saxton-Lopez, and this is a program that we do live on Facebook and YouTube every Thursday from 6 p.m. Eastern to about 6:30. And there may be a problem connecting on Facebook today because I seem to have some difficulty sending the program to Facebook. So if you are on Facebook, please just give a thumbs up or something to let us know. And it is on YouTube, no problem at all. So anyway, to get us started, I'd like you to know that this is a program that is based upon the book that we wrote that's called The Pet Loss Companion, Healing Advice from Family Therapists Who Lead Pet Loss Groups. And this program is a way that we've been able to extend the reach of the book and actually have a dialogue with our audience members. And the way that we do that, and you'll see an example of that this evening, is that we read stories from people who have sent us emails that tell us the story of their life with their beloved animal companion and about their passing and about how they're doing with their healing thus far. And then we give a little bit of commentary on what they've sent to us. You can reach us as follows. You can reach me at kenddv, that's kenddv at gmail.com, and Nancy at nsaxtonlopez at csmpc.com. That's nsaxtonlopez at csmpc.com. You can support our work on this program in a number of different ways. One would be to subscribe to our Substack, where you can read the correspondence that we have with audience members. So you see our back and forth with them, and you can see all the beautiful pictures that they send of their family members. And there is a subscription cost for that, though, and it's $5 a month. Or you can send us a gift through Venmo or PayPal or monthly subscription. All of this is in the program description. So if you're interested in any of the information I share in the beginning, it's all in the description that accompanies either the live broadcast or the replay, wherever you may find it. And while we are letting you know that you can support us in a variety of ways with money, what we really appreciate most is just the opportunity to share with you and to give some advice and some solace, hopefully, to the people who are dealing with the loss of a beloved animal companion. Mm-hmm. This program is a friend of Dakin Humane Society in Springfield. Dakin is a great shelter and adoption program. They also do all kinds of things that are geared towards just helping us with our connections to our animal companions. One of the resources that they sponsor is a cost-free pet loss Zoom support group that I facilitate once a month. It's on the second Tuesday of the month, and it runs 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. There's an RSVP link in the program description. It's cost-free to use, so there's no cost for participating. The next one will be on June 11th, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. And if you are interested in being part of that meeting, and it's very interesting, actually, because we have people joining us from all over the country and all over the world, actually. People bring all kinds of different perspectives on the loss that they're going through. And people are at all different stages of healing. If you are interested and you RSVP and then you discover that you actually can't make the meeting, it would be great if you could send me a note, because that way we can open the registration up again. We do cap the registration because sometimes the meeting would get really, really large if we didn't do that. Please consider subscribing on YouTube. If you subscribe on YouTube, it tells the algorithm to raise the visibility of the program for other people who are searching for a similar kind of resource. And so please consider doing that. And finally, we'd like you to know that we have an affiliation with a business that's called Bereave. And Bereave makes these very nicely crafted granite plaques with an image of your beloved animal companion, along with whatever language you might like to have on that plaque that will help you commemorate their life. And very nice, very solid, very beautifully crafted kind of thing that you could put in a memorial spot outside or in a place inside where you keep mementos of your beloved animal companion. And I think Nancy is holding the example that they sent to us. And if you buy a memorial
Really
plaque
heavy. Good.
if you buy a memorial plaque from Bereave, some of the money that you pay comes back to us, a portion of it. So it's a way of also providing a measure of support to the work that we do. So Nancy, want to get us started?
Yes, we have one story tonight. And it is from a woman who is very entrenched in the this woman is very entrenched in the companion animal world. And it's an amazing story. Um, and so she had a note to us, and then Ken and I are going to share, this writing that she did about her wonderful BooBoo, and her name is Kate. Thank you for your book and podcast. I've been a fan of your book for a while, recommending it to clients in my death doula and behavior and training practice. I work with a lot of complex fear and aggression cases, some resulting in behavioral euthanasia. You'll understand more when you read my story. But just recently learned about the podcast when my friend and colleague, Angela Shook, who we've had on, was on it. 6 weeks ago, I lost my heart dog, BooBoo, and we have quite a story that I thought you might want to share. I tried to edit it down, but it's still pretty long. There's just so much there because she literally changed the course of my life, and that's not hyperbole. She changed my life, and then together we helped change the lives of over 2,435 dogs and their people. I joined Ken's support group last time, and I'm signed up for the next 2 months as well. I've got one-on-one therapy and another group session I'm also attending, but I've really appreciated all of your work in helping people navigate their grief. I hope you're able to share my story. Thank you. So this is her beautiful story about her life in BooBoo, and it's called BooBoo's Legacy. I've been an animal advocate for over 3 decades. I became a vegetarian as a teen and have championed animal welfare as a rescuer, transporter, shelter worker, foster, volunteer, and for nearly the last decade as a force-free trainer and behavior consultant specializing in fearful dogs. Most recently, I became an end-of-life pet death doula. But this is the story of how my life changed forever when BooBoo arrived. It's the story about her legacy and how she completely changed the trajectory of my life. On June 7th, 2011, I was doing my normal Facebook shelter dog networking, sharing posts of at-risk dogs or dogs who needed to be transported when one tiny thumbnail image stopped me from scrolling. The post read simply, "My name is BooBoo. I'm a 3-year-old border collie mix that is very, very laid back like the rest of my buddies. I just want to be loved and let me love back." This dog looked exactly like the smaller version of our recently rescued Mr. Barbo. I shared the post and moved on. But it stuck with me, and I kept returning to the post and checking on it, asking questions, and ultimately putting in an application for this mystery dog in Kentucky. I learned that BooBoo was one of 54 dogs at a rescuer's home who had recently been diagnosed with cancer, and all of the dogs needed to be rehomed. The local county humane society was working to help process applications and try to arrange rescue and transport up north. I was drawn to this dog for some reason, and I didn't know why. But I had no idea if Barbo would like or want a housemate sibling. After all, he had been returned twice to the shelter he was rescued from in Illinois before he was transported to New Jersey, where we adopted him. And once was for not getting along with the resident dog. We took him to the dog park, and he loved to play, but I was terrified to transport a dog all the way from Kentucky to New Jersey. What if it didn't work out? I couldn't possibly send her back to Kentucky, knowing her fate would be death. So I contacted the rescue in New Jersey we had adopted Barbo from, and where we were doing some volunteering, begging them to agree that if we paid for all the costs and brought BooBoo to New Jersey and it didn't work out, that they would find her a home locally so she didn't have to go back to Kentucky. Not only did they agree to that, but they agreed to take 11 of the 54 dogs from Kentucky. They took BooBoo's entire litter, her and her 4 siblings, and another litter of 6 dogs. I immediately got to work arranging transport and lining up fosters for the incoming Kentucky crew. BooBoo was going to be a foster to adopt for us, with every intention of adopting her, as long as Mr. Barbeau agreed. In the meantime, I had been in touch with Christy, the rescuer in Kentucky, who had all 54 dogs, and she gave me some background information on Boo and many of the other dogs in her care and how she ended up with so many. Boo's mom, a pregnant feral border collie mix, had been trapped by Christy. Sadly, on the way to the vet clinic to give birth to the puppies, the mother passed away, and so did one of the puppies. But 5 puppies, including BooBoo, survived. Christy named them all after things in Alaska. So there was Ranger, Blaze, Sassy, BooBoo, and Grizzly. I asked how she ended up with the 54 dogs. She explained that she volunteered at a local shelter and drove transport for them. Often, though, dogs she would transport wouldn't get adopted or people would just not show up when they were supposed to. Knowing that the local shelter had very limited kennel spaces, and if she brought the dog back, it would end up being euthanized. So she began bringing them home to the kennel she had built on her property with the intention of adopting them out. All the dogs were vetted and taken care of. But in Kentucky, it's not unusual to find boxes of puppies on the side of the road or strays just wandering. So in addition to the shelter dogs from the failed transports, she'd bring home these strays. Having a huge heart, she eventually ended up with 54 dogs on the property. But I really want to emphasize, while this is a lot of dogs, they were all well taken care of to the best of her ability. She saved these dogs. And as an Iraqi war veteran, the dogs also saved her, giving her a new purpose. BooBoo lived the first 3 years of her life with her siblings, being cared for by Christy. Boo hadn't been abused, as so many people assume about fearful dogs, but she hadn't been very well socialized. Life changed forever when BooBoo finally arrived in New Jersey. My husband and I arrived to meet the transport van from Kentucky, excited to meet our new girl, this little semi-feral black dog. The transport driver took her crate out of the van, opened it, reached in, grabbed her by the collar, and off it snapped. She bolted and was gone in a matter of seconds. No collar, no ID, no microchip. She escaped into a heavily wooded area off the side of a 4-lane highway after being on a 17-hour transport in a new state with no identification, scared out of her mind and having not eaten for all of that time. The terrified dog I hadn't even met or had laid hands on, yet had already fallen in love with, was suddenly gone, and I doubted I would ever find her alive. I was devastated, certain she would get hit by a car darting in her panic to escape. We mobilized an army of volunteers and would spend the next 9 days searching endlessly day and night, sleeping little and learning a lot. We put up a Facebook page to get information out. We notified police and animal control across area towns. We printed thousands of flyers, handing them out to delivery people, pizza places to put on boxes, and to people walking in neighborhoods. People painted the windows of their cars and drove around. We printed a very large vinyl banner to hang along the side of the highway where she was lost. Volunteers walked dogs on foot, and we used her siblings to lay scent trails. We began getting calls of sightings nearly every hour and started tracking them by dropping pins on a Google map so we could see her path of travel. We quickly noticed that she was traveling long distances, sometimes up to 10 miles, sometimes hanging out on the local college campus during the day, but was returning to the rescue where she had escaped from and where her brother and sister were still being kept every single night. So we began doing stakeouts at night at the rescue once we realized we felt safer to come out overnight. She felt safer to come out overnight when people were moving around. We set up live traps baited with McDonald's and KFC, but she was too scared to go into them. One night, we brought her brother Blaze out around 2 a.m. and tied him to a tree in a parking lot with a cable tie as we hid in our car. He began to whine, and she came out of the woods, bowed to him, and had the sweetest little reunion that brought tears to my eyes. And then we knew Blaze was the key to trapping BooBoo. So the next night, night 9 of her adventure on the lam, during our stakeout, we put Blaze in a secure fence and a play area at the rescue, which was surrounded by a large exterior fence and gate. Boo had been avoiding all the live traps with the food, and with her approaching Blaze the night before, we knew he was the lure we needed to catch her. Sure enough, his whines brought her out from the woods once again, and she approached him. Once she was safely in the fenced area, my husband, who was quietly waiting in our car in the parking lot, jumped out of the car and slammed the exterior fence gate closed to trap her. Against all odds, we had gotten her alive and seemingly uninjured. What a glorious reunion with her brother Blaze and sister Sassy it was. Wagging tails, rubbing on each other, face licks, just so much happiness from the three of them. And then complete exhaustion and sleep from being on the run for 9 days. We knew the middle of the night was not a good time to do an introduction to Barbo, so we left Boo at the rescue in the kennel with her siblings and returned the next morning to take her home. We all slept well that night for the first time in 9 days, and we immediately ordered a GPS tracker for her collar. We returned and picked her up the next morning and brought her to meet Barbo at a local park to do an intro on neutral ground. Their first meeting went beautifully, as if they were meant to be together from the first moment they laid eyes on each other. Good thing, too, because after her ordeal, I knew in my heart she was never going anywhere ever again. In the car ride home from the park, we had gotten a metal divider barrier to allow Barbo to have the back seat to himself, like he normally would, and to keep her in the rear section hatch. Well, she had none of that, and was managed to squeeze her little 40-pound body through the 8-inch gap between the top of the barrier and the ceiling to wiggle herself in the back seat next to him. He just looked at her as she plopped herself on him and used him like a pillow, as she would continue to do for the next 11 years they shared together. And it would stay like that for their entire lives. They were absolutely a perfect match. Never any fighting over toys or food, beds, or their people. They shared everything: ice cream, licking pans, bully sticks, chews, and more. Barbo tolerated Boo snuggling up to him, and even though he never initiated snuggling with her, our groomer would report that he would whine like a baby if they took Boo out of his view when they were getting groomed. Once home, it was clear BooBoo was a fearful dog. Her lack of socialization and only being around Christy for the first 3 years of her life made her afraid of new people, especially men. She was also afraid of so many things: noises, even soft sound things like ballpoint pen clicking, thunder, fireworks, doors closing, cars driving by outside, people approaching, and anything new she hadn't ever been exposed to. Pretty much she was afraid of the world, except dogs. She very immediately bonded to me. She followed me everywhere, room to room, touching me in some way if possible, and over the next 13 years, we'd rarely be apart for more than a few hours at a time. I soon realized I need to learn a lot more about training fearful dogs. This wasn't my first experience with a scared dog. Our previous dog, Bandit, was aggressive and had bitten 7 people, including me and my husband, both in the face. Back then, I didn't know how to help him, and everything we tried just made him worse. I knew I owed it to BooBoo to do better, and knew if we used methods like dominance or alpha methods as seen on TV or raising our voice, that she was already so scared that she would just run away from us. She was so fragile already, and I just wanted to learn how to help her. So I embarked on my journey to learn about fearful dogs and how to help them. I read books, I researched training methods, and I eventually found my way to the Academy for Dog Trainers, the Harvard of dog training schools, earning a scholarship and ultimately graduating with honors, and devoted myself to positive reinforcement, science-based, kind training. We continued to be involved in rescue, and BooBoo, alongside Barbo, helped us foster over 50 dogs, many of which were fearful, just like she had been. With a lot of training, trust building, and never using any corrections or aversive methods to scare or hurt her, Boo learned that people in the world were safe. In December of 2014, 2.5 years after coming into my life, BooBoo and I were certified as a therapy dog team, and she achieved her AKC Good Citizen Award. She was officially no longer a fearful dog. A remarkable story is even one of the stories featured in the book, Rescue Dogs, where they come from, why they act the way they do, and how to love them well.
It's almost hard to describe what an absolute angel of a dog she was once she wasn't fearful. It's like she wasn't real. She was truly the best dog you could ever meet. She tolerated foster puppies climbing and biting all over her. She put up with Barbo, rough playing with her. She actually liked it and would bat at him to keep it going. And she had zero behavioral issues unless you stopped petting her, and then she would very gently paw at you for you to keep petting her. She had the sweetest temperament and was the gentlest dog ever. Softest mouth, taking treats, never biting or growling, barked maybe 5 times in her entire life, and friend to all creatures. She was the unicorn dog that people always want. Good with people, dogs, kids, other critters, and truly a go anywhere dog, but equally happy to stay home and snuggle. My passion for fearful and aggressive dogs deepened, and I committed to focus my behavior practice on helping these misunderstood dogs and the people that love them. I empathize with clients who are struggling with the hopelessness, anger, fear, anxiety, frustration, and heartbreak that I once had. BooBoo is the entire reason I'm now certified and highly credentialed behavior consultant and trainer, and she completely changed the trajectory of my life. I left my corporate insurance job and transitioned to full-time dog training nearly a decade ago, specializing in fear, anxiety, and aggression cases. My company, Rescued by Training, is all because of her. She is the face of my logo and was the inspiration for it all. I can't help but smile, even through my tears, when I think about the beautiful life we shared together, filled with adventures, travels, parks, beaches, sunrises, sunsets, trails, snuggles, so many snuggles, and so many chicken chips. Boo traveled to 18 states, including by car, train, and ferries, lived in 4 houses in 3 states with us, and brought joy to hundreds of people during her therapy dog visits. We remained in touch with her siblings throughout her life, visiting her sister. Here's a picture of her with her sister.
Yeah, so cute.
Visiting with her sister quite frequently, even as recently as last summer. When my husband and I got married, and we all hiked to the top of a mountain in Vermont, Barbo and BooBoo in tow, so we could all be together. We spent the last 15 and a half years of our lives planning dog-friendly vacations and outings, going to restaurants that allowed dogs on their patios, and only going on trips where we could bring our dogs. They were never boarded or left behind. Our lives completely revolved around and included our dogs. When Barbo passed away in August of 2022, we were worried about how Boo would handle it. After all, she'd never been a solo dog. She went from living with her siblings to living with Barbo. Much to our surprise, she didn't struggle and in fact truly blossomed. She really enjoyed being an only child. As she aged, we marveled at how incredible she was doing at almost 15 and a half years old. But unlike Barbo, where his decline was long and slow, BooBoo's end was fast and relatively unexpected. We joked that she was aging backwards because she was doing so amazing. But then everything changed. She went from completely normal, running through the woods, to what looked like mouth pain, crying when I gave her medication, and not yawning fully. We worked to get her seen by an oral surgery specialist, but couldn't get in locally for many months. So we ended up driving over 8 hours out of state to get an oral surgery specialist with a board-certified anesthesiologist on staff so they could do surgery for what we suspected was a dental issue. But on the ride there, she had a minor seizure or stroke in the car, which was a first for her. I'll show a picture of the dental surgeon.
Yes. Yeah.
When we got to the dental facility, they didn't see any dental issues, but the surgeon noticed muscle wasting in her chewing muscles in her temple and suspected either a TMJ tumor, a tumor behind her eye, an autoimmune issue that affects the jaw, or possibly an infection because her lymph node was swollen. We began antibiotics and started to wean her off her pain medication so we could start steroids. The autoimmune test came back negative, which was crushing. We were hoping that was the answer, as it would have been the easiest thing to treat. The oral surgeon now suspected it was most likely a TMJ tumor or tumor behind her eyes, and as the days went on, her muscle wasting increased quickly. Her head bones started to really become prominent, and her eye started to have a discharge, all pointing to a tumor behind her eye, which would account for the random seizure or stroke in the car. Her fate became clear. My husband and I live firmly by the mantra, it's best to say goodbye a day early than an hour late. And in honoring our promise to never let our dogs suffer, we made the decision to say goodbye on April 10th, just one day after her 15 and a half birthday, and scheduled our mobile vet to come out for the euthanasia. We scheduled an end-of-life photographer to come for the one last photo shoot with us as a family. And here's one of the photos.
That's so nice.
It was hard, but I wanted to capture these last moments with her and the simultaneous pain and love we were feeling. In the days leading up to the appointment, we shared quiet moments at home, snuggling and reminding her how much she was loved, thanking her for being the bestest dog and for making our lives so incredible for all the time she was here. We went to the park during the full eclipse, and we had a steady stream of visitors come to say goodbye to her, because she not only was loved by us, but she was loved by so many others, including thousands of people from all over the world through her Facebook page. We had so been looking forward to celebrating that 15 and a half year milestone, and not even a month before, it looked so easy that she would sail right into it with no problem. And she made it, but just barely. On her half birthday, the day before her appointment, we went for one final stroll at the park, one of her favorite activities. On the morning of her appointment, we had some final tearful morning snuggles in bed, fed her ice cream for breakfast, and then made a beautiful spot in the yard for her, setting up her big Barker bed and her favorite blanket, sprinkled with flower petals. The grass was dewy, the morning birds were singing their songs, the bees were buzzing high in the tree canopy, and our regular mobile vet came to put her to rest, surrounded with us telling her how loved she was and how she was the bestest girl ever, and she truly was. And they have a picture of that,
Mm-hmm.
the way they set her up when they were sending her off. A local crematory came afterwards, and my husband helped carry her out of the gurney to their car for her final car ride. They returned her ashes to us the next morning with a paw print, fur clipping, and a lovely sympathy note. We shared a beautiful 4,661 days together on this planet, yet it will never have been enough. I would have kept her here forever if I could. We know 15 and a half years is old for a dog her size, but we selfishly wanted even more. But we know it was her time. The tumor was changing her. Things really do change in an instant. In less than a month, my perfect sweet girl went from running through the woods to gone, just like that. It's cliche, and people say it all the time, but cherish every moment. I expected when we would lose her, it would be a slow decline, the slow decline of normal aging, and I'd have more time to prepare. But instead, it was like someone switched a light switch and she was gone. My heart is shattered into a million shards, and I'm not sure it can ever be pieced back together. I've had losses before, human and animal, but none like this. None that have literally taken my breath away and left me gasping for air. Even now, 6 weeks later, I can still barely breathe or sleep. On tough days, I would look at her and remember both our lives could have ended very differently, and that compassion, understanding, and kindness always overcome adversity. I try to remember this still, but it's so hard and hurts so much. We've had such an incredible outpouring of support. Here's another picture of BooBoo at the beach. We've had such an incredible outpouring of support, cards, gifts, food, messages of support. It's all helped to know how impactful she was, not just to us, but to so many others. But at the same time, it makes it even more painful knowing so many people are also feeling her loss. Her absence is completely life-altering for me. For the last 13 years, I've spent more time with her than anyone, even my husband. That's not anything negative to him. He works and I work, but during the days, Boo spent her time with me. My day-to-day is just not the same. She's missing from every single moment of everything I do. And she has a quote here in her letter. Every once in a while, a dog enters your life and changes everything. This is my favorite quote because it captures everything about BooBoo coming into my life so perfectly. And the quote is from an unknown source. BooBoo was the one dog, my heart dog, the one that changed my life forever. And my connection and bond with her was stronger than my relationships with most people. My life will never be the same without her, but I have no doubt that I'm a better human for having shared my life with her. She brought so much joy into our lives and to so many others. I know without a doubt we gave her the best possible life ever, and she didn't suffer at any point in her life with us. She wanted for nothing, was never told no unless it was dangerous, and was free to be a dog without fear, shame, or punishment. And in return, she was the sweetest, gentlest soul to everyone. Through all my tears, I will try to remember her absolute joy when she was running toward me, her big smile when getting her favorite chicken chips, her goofy face after rolling in the grass and getting all dirty, and her loving gaze when snuggling close. I hope I hope is I hope that one day you are lucky enough to have that one dog who changes you as much as Boo changed me. I know this. Her legacy is my training work. Her legacy is rescued by training, and I promise to honor all the love and legacy she left behind, no matter how hard it is to go on. I must find a way to continue to do that. I can't let her legacy go to waste. To date, she and I have helped over 2,435 fearful dogs and their owners have better lives. And that's quite an accomplishment for a little feral dog from Kentucky. If you can spare 9 minutes, you can watch this memorial video of Life of Boo, which with music composed by my husband, John, highlighting just some of the many adventures we all shared. Watch to the end. I will love you forever, Boo Boo. Thank you for being the bestest girl ever. So that's quite a letter.
What? And it's not hyperbole either, which I said pronounced that wrong before. But I mean, amazing story. And that's the beauty of the human animal bond, right?
It's really quite something. She talked about what an incredible dog BooBoo was, but it's really clear that it was their relationship and all the work that made
it's
her,
always about the relationship
that made her such a stable, calm, loving, approachable, and great therapy dog. I mean, it's all the work that
Kate put into that,
with
right?
her. Yeah, that really made that happen.
And all that work that Kate put into it, and then with the work that BooBoo put into it, created this amazing bond, this amazing relationship between the two of them.
Yeah,
And it's
Kate is
devastating.
with us. She said, thanks for sharing our story. So thank you, Kate.
Yes,
And
so
we will
much.
certainly, the link to the video, I will try to post that on the description as well. It'll certainly be part of your letter in the Substack, but we'll try to get it connected to the description in YouTube and on the podcast.
And we also want to thank you, Kate, for all the work you do in the field.
Absolutely.
It's not easy work.
Yeah.
And so we really appreciate that, that your commitment and your passion around that.
And she said some things that I just want to highlight as well, just some points. One is that some declines are slow and progressive, and others are a state of collapse. Like they just happen really quickly. And she experienced both of those with one of her dogs, Bardo, and then with BooBoo, it was just really, really quick. And
it's the legacy, right? I love it. My life will never be the same without her, but I have no doubt that I am a better human for having shared my life with her.
And we want to emphasize too that Kate is an end-of-life pet
Mm-hmm.
doula.
Doula.
So
Mm-hmm.
this is a profession that is very helpful to people at the time when their animal is entering the end stage of their life. So they're in declining rapidly. They're in hospice care. They're in palliative care. This kind of a professional can help in a lot of ways. And we've had others who have this role come and speak with us.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that Kate does as well. So something to note too, if you might want to get in touch with her
Mm-hmm.
to help you through the process, the dying process with your animal companion. And another thing I noted that was really interesting to me was the end of life photography session.
Yes.
I'd never heard of that
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
And it's really interesting to see it's a ritual of great power, I assume. I mean, I've never done that, but it's quite a powerful ritual. It looks
I've seen videos of different pet, photographers that go out during that process of euthanasia. What I'm trying to do where I am now is I'm asking people if I'm with them supporting their euthanasia, if they would like a picture of their hands with their loved one's paw,
Mhm.
right? So with their camera, so that
Yeah.
now that's a very simple thing as opposed to I think what Kate had with
Yeah. Yeah,
but,
that would be a nice thing to have as well. Just
yeah.
that connection, that
Mhm.
image of connection, and and Kate is mentioning the Tilly project, TILLY project is a good resource for end of life photo
Very
sessions.
nice.
Some even offer free or low cost sessions. Really something to think about. Thanks for that as well.
Thank you, Kate.
So I guess we should say good night for this evening. Nancy, it was
Oh,
wonderful talking with you. And Kate,
yes,
thanks again
and
for the
again,
story.
yes, Kate, thank you so much. It was a very rich story that really echoed how wonderful some of all of our companion animals, but some are more special than others.
Yeah. Okay. Have a
Great.
good night, Nancy. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.